Qu'est-ce que le quoi?
Le David Bowie.
Oh, wait. That's copyright infringement.
Aladdin Insane.
Copyright infringement.
Is this okay?
Is that going to be on?
It should be.
What's it going to have on it?
Highlights from this weekend.
Oh, yeah, we got that too, eh? We talk about that with...
Are we on?
Afraid so.
Okay, all
We're
right.
on.
Well, we're on, Dan.
Welcome. Which camera am I looking at here?
You know what?
Welcome to HESN Football Podcast number 22. I'm Dan Mooney alongside Jesse Card. Kyle Ball is here. Steve, our producer, our director, our floor director is here. Mia is on staff as well. She's looking after anybody that wants to talk to us. We want your feedback. So please make sure that if you have something to say, get into the conversation. We'd love to hear from you.
How about this Steve guy? He's doing everything here, you know?
Oh, I know.
He's got his hands stirring every pot.
Sorry, I'm eating.
And he's eating his cheese tea biscuit.
I'm going to
Tim
try to
Hortons.
get us some highlights up here. So
Well,
that
no,
we
we're
can
not
enjoy.
talking about highlights yet. We got lots of stuff to talk about. The football podcast is wonderfully specific to the Ottawa area. I'm glad to have you on board watching us on YouTube. But, Jesse, football in the nation's capital, and I would imagine minor football across the province now, is going through some difficult times with the brand new Ontario Football Association rule that prohibits players from playing either high school or minor football. They can't play both. They have to pick one.
Yeah.
Why was this brought in, and what kind of ramifications does this new rule have?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's the whole genesis of this new rule is to protect players and keep them safe. That's the number one thing. So the idea is that with a contact sport like football, you just can't be playing it all year long. You know, if you look down to the States, they have a very systematic model where you play in the fall with your high school. Then you might have a spring camp where guys get together and do a little bit of conditioning together. And then in the summertime, you meet back up as a team, and then away you go. So, I mean, I think since I was a teenager, I think I was 17 when the Ontario Varsity Football League came to Ottawa, and that was the first time that we had summer football. And I think from a player standpoint, you know, as a player, you're worried that you're not in the right place. You want to make sure you're playing in the right league with the right teams and to get the exposure and to hopefully advance your career. So the kids are kind of being drawn. It's not the players' or family's fault. I think it's the fact that there's too many options right now, and I think maybe from an organizational level, maybe we haven't done our job to try to streamline things a little bit better.
Now, it may be a decent rule in theory because these people that are running these football associations, Ontario, and probably Football Canada as well, they want to protect the kids. But there's no rule precluding these kids from playing hockey, rugby, any other contact sport that they could invariably sustain a concussion.
Yeah, like what's the difference between getting rocked in a hockey practice and then showing up?
Absolutely.
There's no way to communicate between coaches and trainers.
That's right.
So you're right. I guess the question is, you know, because that is an obstacle, does Football Canada not try to do anything to govern itself? And I think that's what it's trying to do, is at least put in some safeguards in terms of people playing football in Ontario and Canada.
Safeguards to protect the players or safeguards to protect these associations from being sued?
You know what? I mean, you open up Pandora's box there. It's good dialogue. I personally believe at the end of the day we can come together as a community, a football community, and find a good way that we can, you know, make the parity, make football better, make it more exciting for the volunteers and the coaches and the players. And we just got to, you know, as a group, just stay focused on that being the goal. And there's been a lot of discussion online. We posted, a few posts a couple weeks back about some of the high schools that have folded because of lack of players. And you should just see there's a running thread there that goes for pages on people's opinions on this is what should happen. High school should rule, NCAFA should fold. You talk to other people that have been around NCAFA for a long time, and they'll tell you that shutting down football teams isn't good for the sport. I mean, we want more kids playing this great sport.
And we've seen over the last little while, last 15 or 20 years, football programs at the high school level have participation has dropped considerably to the point where high school teams don't want to pay the money to insure these kids, despite the fact that the equipment that they're using is state of the art. When I played high school football, we had one little leather circle that protected the top of your head from hitting the shell when you got tackled.
And you're okay now, right?
Well, I can remember 6 major concussions, and I played football and hockey that I experienced. I went through them. They weren't a lot of fun, but all of the symptoms that people talk about, I went through them. Mm-hmm. You were a defensive back, a corner, a linebacker. You probably sustained as many, if not more, hitting in the days where you led with your head.
Yeah, I've never been diagnosed with a concussion.
Okay.
But I would say I think you're right. I'm sure there's times I can remember definitely some very severe contact over the time that I played. Once again, I'm not a doctor. I've never been diagnosed with a concussion formally. But it worries you, like as a player. I mean, as a coach now, and as looking at having kids in the future, it's definitely a concern. I think that at the end of the day, this is such a hot topic. There's a lot of misinformation about it. We've been playing football.
Whose fault is that?
The misinformation?
Yeah.
Well, it's a good question. I don't know. I think in terms of the people that are the experts disseminating information, the scientists working on this stuff probably have the most obligation to make sure that the right information is going out there. But it's such a new thing, right? Like football seems to be the focus of the concussion talk right now. But I've seen studies, and whether they're changing every week or not. But the last one that I read was actually soccer's number 1.
Well, it's a cheap participation sport for families. All you have to basically do is buy a pair of cleats and some shin pads.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Everything else is supplied. Maybe a pair of socks.
Well, I mean, having said that, though, I don't know what soccer charges at the comparable level of maybe, let's say, a 15, 16-year-old division at NCAFA or a 14, 15-year-old division. But NCAFA generally is done a great job of keeping player prices down and registration costs. I mean, you get all the equipment. We're talking the helmet, the shoulder pads, all certified.
All state-of-the-art,
all
too.
state-of-the-art
All
stuff.
state-of-the-art.
And, I mean, we're looking at under $400 for 8 games plus playoffs and 3-4 practices a week with huge volunteer staff. So I think football's done a really good job of keeping that price low.
But $400 is still a lot for families.
Yeah, but
it's a big
what
chunk.
Are you comparing that to?
Well, this is true. If your kid's going to be involved in hockey, depending on what level they're playing, if they're playing the top echelon, it's probably anywhere, and you're traveling, it's anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000 after tax money.
Right.
Tournaments, gas, meals, accommodation.
So I think the real neat thing in my mind about football and the reason that it's such a great ultimate team sport is that the access and entry to football is quite low. Like you said, $400 is still $400, but comparatively to basketball or soccer, it's right in there, if not lower. And then what happens is you're allowed, a lot of kids from different backgrounds, different upbringings, different religions, different colors can come together and play the ultimate team sport. That is something I think really you don't want to lose in this game, is raising the prices and locking less fortunate kids out of the sport.
That may not be the biggest hurdle that football is going to have to jump over. Football is going to have to jump over, I guess, the overriding belief that you're going to get hurt out there. And parents don't want their kids to get hurt, so they're not going to put them into an environment where they're going to get hurt.
Yep.
And
We should stay away from all sports then.
well, that's true.
Well,
I remember
that's also my issue is that there's this hypocrisy of, we're worried about the kids and their health, so I don't let them throw curveballs at 12. Yet they can play every other rugby, which is my personal, pet peeve, that they go out and they play rugby, which is, unprotected football, and they're getting broken collarbones, broken arms. I mean, I'm sure everybody out there listening can attest to, I've heard of someone getting hurt in rugby. And we're always worried about our own sport, that we're not injuring the children, kids, youth. But they're going to go out and play whatever they want anyways, and then they're going to skateboard. I mean, it's tough.
So then you've got the argument that kids are not active because they're sitting in their basements playing their PS4s or their Xbox Ones or whatever state of the art is now.
Maybe not getting the exercise.
That's
what
right.
they
So
need, yeah.
football is providing an outlet for that, yet the dichotomy is that teams can only practice twice a week because the kids don't want to develop that kind of commitment to practice 4 nights a week and then play your game on the Saturday.
Right, and this is somebody brought this up. I think it was Tristano
Raponi.
One of his comments that I read recently was just that there are too many options. The football landscape's gotten so saturated that kids now can jump ship whenever it's convenient for them. And what we're actually, promoting, which I don't totally disagree with, is that kids aren't learning what football's supposed to instill in them, which is dedication and persistence and loyalty to a commitment that you make. So I don't like seeing that. We saw a lot of players, not a lot, but maybe a handful decide after 4 weeks of the next half a season to go to high school, and these are pivotal players, quarterbacks, running backs,
Especially in the midget division.
leaving their team high and dry. I honestly don't know what kind of lesson that is giving the kids at this point in their life.
So, does the Ontario Football Association amend their rules for next season, or do they keep this in place where a kid has to make a decision one way or the other?
Well, at the end of the day, I think we have to look at it and say, do we agree with it from the standpoint of safety? Do we believe that preventing kids from playing 2 seasons at the same time is going to decrease the amount of or the potential of injury? And I would say yes. I don't think kids need to be playing 2 football seasons at the same time.
Well, what if they want to? I mean, you're precluding a kid from doing what everybody wants them to do, and that's stay active physically, and they want to play.
Yep.
Football happens to be their game. It's a seasonal game where you only get an opportunity to play at NCAFA. I think it's 6 games for a regular season. It's 8. High school, is it 7 or 8?
Well, this year kids
Might even be 6.
It might be less, and also on top of that, we've seen the issues with people having issues with St. Matt's and actually folding their games, not wanting to play them because there is the stink of cheating out there, unproven. I don't have the details on that. I'm just reflecting what the grapevine.
Active recruiting. Let's say.
Recruiting, yeah. So I have nothing to do with high school football or the administration of high school football, but we're in this situation where it could be better. I think. I don't know what the answer is, but it could be better.
Well, it's only 4 teams. You play 2 leagues, it's like 14 games. In hockey, teams are playing over 100 games in a single season, which is astronomical for a kid. Great for kids.
Yeah.
Great for kids. Really tough on parents. But 14 games playing football, and they're not allowing these kids to do it anymore. I think it should be left up to the kid. That's where the decision should come from. It should be left up to the player.
Well, okay. That's certainly one stance on it. I look at it and say, like, is it not the responsibility of the adults that are administering this game to make that decision on what they think is in the best interest of the kid? Because the kid might want to do it, but he might also want to snort glue. It's not good for him, and we shouldn't allow kids to snort glue. So,
Well, then you shouldn't allow kids to cross the street.
Right. And this is where we get into the over-coddling, participation kind of society that many argue that we're entering into, the political correctness, I don't know what the answer is, Dan.
Well, certainly
That's
it's a political football, pardon the pun. But I don't necessarily know whether or not it's going to be solved within the next 3 or 4 years. They're probably going to see how it goes after 2, figure out where they made their errors, and make amendments after that. That would be the prudent thing,
Right.
in my humble opinion.
Yeah, and no harm in that either, right? I think a lot of people aren't claiming they have the answer. I think the thing to focus on as a community, and the nice thing about this podcast as a forum is just once a week we get to talk about this stuff, and we can air it to an unlimited amount of people if they tune in. So it's nice. We want to know what other people think. It's nice having these healthy discussions and debates. Anyone that wants to come on the podcast and talk about any of these issues, it's an open door policy here. This is community television 2.0, and what we want to do is this is your vehicle, right? We're here to help support it and to bring the expertise in, but really, I mean, this can go any way the people want it to go.
Yeah, that is a topic that we're going to get into just a little bit later. But right now, this is HESN Football Podcast number 22.
Yeah.
Favorite football number 22s. Go.
Emmitt Smith.
First one that comes to mind. I'm thinking Rough Riders.
Okay.
My era.
All right.
Terry Wellesley.
Okay.
Gene Gaines. Mike Nelms.
See, I don't know. Not
Any
one
of
them.
those.
Yeah.
Any of them.
Yeah. I'm kind of ashamed, right?
Gene Gaines played Terry Wellesley and Gene Gaines. Terry Wellesley was after Gene Gaines, but Gene Gaines was a member of the Rough Riders during their 68 and 69 Grey Cup years with Russ Jackson at the helm at quarterback.
McMaster alumni, Russ Jackson.
I was waiting for you to bring that up. Terry Wellesley played a little bit later, early in 70s. He was a punt returner and a defensive back.
Okay.
Mike Nelms came into Ottawa in the days of Tom Clements and Condredge Holloway. Oh, does that mean we have to go for a break?
We got the Dreamweaver going on here.
Mike Nelms returned punts
Okay.
for the Rough Riders. Established a CFL record, was only here for a year, went down and broke records returning punts for the Washington Redskins in the National Football League.
No kidding.
So Ottawa has had great number 22s.
Now, would he have been playing with Theismann at that time?
Yeah.
Very well.
Right
very
around
well, right.
right around that time, because Theismann played with the Argos in 70 and 71. I think he was only here for 2 years.
Did you see him come up and get the ceremony
That documentary?
there?
Yeah, I saw that. That was, I guess, commemorating the 71 team that unfortunately lost the Grey Cup 14-11 to Calgary that year on the Leon McQuay fumble.
Oh, jeez. What a wealth of knowledge you are, man. This is great. This is a treat, just being able to sit here on a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday, isn't it?
I believe it is.
I
yes.
think it's a Wednesday. And just talk football and talk old school Rough Riders football. This is cool. I don't know how many kids really know about this stuff, because you mentioned all those names. I don't know one of them. So all the kids watching this are going to watch this later on when it's archived. Like, these are some names, man. There's some history here.
Let us know who your favorite 22 is. Mia's standing by, so you can converse with us too.
Right.
Through YouTube, and she'll get us the information that you send to us. We'd love to have you be part of this football discussion, because it's a game that we all love. That is why we're all here, is because we want to grow the game of football. You have to dance through some political hoops. That's just the nature of the beast.
Right.
Are you getting pinged?
No, I just noticed the highlights.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, here's
That's
some
from
great
this
football.
weekend, right? Or
That's, I believe that is Saturday morning.
yeah. So where do you want to take the show right now? Because I was about to jump in and ask you a question relating, broadcasting.
Okay.
And that is, what's your favorite sport to call? You've called everything.
30.
30 different sports?
Yeah.
Can you list 10
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah. Football.
Yeah.
Bing,
Hockey.
bing,
Baseball.
bing,
Basketball.
bing,
Volleyball.
bing.
The Canadian Dog Agility Championships.
Oh, I love it. Hey, wheelchair hockey?
Wheelchair hockey.
I
did that.
remember I flicked around one day and I caught Danny. Say he's so good. I caught him doing wheelchair hockey. Now I don't normally watch. I stuck around for about 45 minutes. Toronto's playing Ottawa.
That's the art.
You get
man.
sucked in every time.
It's
You're a
and I
sports
was
person.
so impressed by just the sheer tenacity of these people who have been saddled with disabilities all of their life, and now they get an opportunity to play Canada's game. They play it in a gym, and I was just so impressed by these athletes and what they were able to do. So that's 7. Ultimate. Darts.
Oh, that's a good one.
100.
80. Way to go.
We should get our audience to dress up like they do at darts. I want to go over there and be in that room.
Oh, yeah.
You see, it's like cosplay meets, lawn darts. It's ridiculous.
It'd be fun to do a broadcast of a darts tournament with coaches.
We did that. I've been involved in one.
Yeah?
But the only unfortunate part about this is you don't get the crowds that you'd get in England because the finals are usually about 7 o'clock on Sunday night, and all the people that have come in from out of town, they're all gone home.
Right.
So there's a handful of people there, so you don't get that raucous feel that you get from watching the dart tournaments in England. I mean, there's 5,000 people in the background, and they're all having fun.
Well, they like to have a party out there. That's for sure.
Well, that's what it's about for them. And the guys, the players with the mohawks, and they're doing all kinds of different stuff to just add some flavor to it, I guess.
Okay, so
that's 9.
9.
That's 9.
You haven't
Ringette.
done Ultimate yet?
Ringette. I
he
did
said
mention.
Ultimate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ringette.
The Ottawa Outlaws.
Ottawa Outlaws.
They've been,
done them for the last couple of
yeah.
years, and
Outlaws, we want to hear
unfortunately-
from you.
Yeah, give us a call. 3 years, 7-7 the first 2 seasons, and last season was not a very successful one for the Ottawa Outlaws. But the brand of Ultimate that they play is tremendous and so fast.
Amazing athletes. A lot of these guys are, ex-baseball players or football players. That it really, football players translate really well into Ultimate because they get used to tracking the Frisbee in the air, making minor adjustments to get underneath it.
Yeah.
It's an explosive kind of sport, just like football. So I had a lot of fun playing Ultimate. I played a co-ed league, and it was really competitive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I got into it with a few women there.
Not a sport that's quite ready for TV yet. They've brought in the observers. I know the spirit of the game illustrates that you solve your own
Self-govern.
difference.
Yeah, I like that.
But not for television.
Right.
When you're on TV, you have to have referees or observers there to make a call, and both teams have to abide by that call to keep the game moving. Otherwise, it's just discussion after discussion after discussion. No wonder the games have an 80-minute soft or hard cap.
Oh, is
Just
that
an
right?
idea.
Okay.
What if the 2 captains had pocket knives and any potential, penalties?
Fight to the death?
Yeah, just fight to the death.
Yeah, how long would that take?
Encouraging safe and secure play is Steve, our director, producer, floor director, and guy in
DJ.
the background. DJ, yes, he's playing tunes for us too. Favorites?
License free.
1992 Canadian Junior Football Championship. The last time the Ottawa Sooners won the national championship.
I bet you there's some people watching this that were on that team.
Jeff Karate,
Oh, okay.
Bobby Grabelny, Chris Morosky, Rick Boudreau, Andy McAvoy, all Ottawa guys. They grew up here and they learned their football here and brought home a national championship. Danny Post was on that team too. It was a really great group of guys. I got to call a couple of Panda games, the Nate Bahar Hail Mary catch.
Yeah, we were streaming that one.
And then the year after that, they went into double overtime. And I was at the Panda game this year. Last year, Carleton won it by about 12, I believe. And then this year goes into double overtime again. I mean, how much more exciting can this game get?
They have not disappointed in 1 year, and we talked about it, I think it was last week, Kyle and I mentioned, the quarterback, what's his name? Kyle?
Jesse Mills
No, Carlton.
for
right now.
Carlton.
Yeah, Ruda. He took it
Micah
in
Ruda,
for the
right.
win, and he's a Gatineau guy. So we were talking about, like, can you get a better game as a university football player than that? Winning that as at home, in the dramatic fashion that he did.
24,490
Yeah,
bodies in the
very
place
special,
too.
Very special. I think the most I ever played was a UTEC Bowl or a Mitchell Bowl against Laval at home at Ivor Wynne Stadium.
Never win.
And I think we had 18-5, something like that, and it was rocking, but it was one side. And 24,000 with them on either side. It's got to be just probably the most exciting venue and event that you can play in.
Oh, at least within university football
Yeah,
in Canada.
for sure.
It was a Panda record, 24,490 souls at TD Place that day. And I'm telling you, man, the joint was jumping.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I wasn't able to make it this time, but that's something that we are really lucky to have in this city, and looking forward to it going on for years and years to come.
We've been at this for 30 minutes already.
I know.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, we're just
30 minutes, just yakking about ball. We're going to take a break, and speaking of ball, Kyle Ball is going to be joining us with the NCAFA Power Rankings in just a moment. Don't go anywhere, folks. You're watching HESN's Football Podcast number 22. We are back. Kyle Ball joins us now, and that advertisement that you just saw for the Madden 18 tournament that HESN
I think it's going to be 17. Might be 17.
Might be 17?
Well, this is interesting. I honestly want to know what people want, because
Go to the other two shots, Steve.
I was thinking about it, and
It's not up. It's Kyle and I, but Jesse's talking. There it is.
I was thinking about it. So 2018, I think, was just released.
Yep, released back in August.
So not a lot of people. I remember I'd have to wait a while to get the games that I wanted. I'd have to wait for the next birthday or next Christmas to come up. So, so I think maybe 17 would be better to run because kids have had more time to play with it. Most of them should have it if they're into it. So maybe the winner. Well, we're talking about providing the winner of the tournament with a Xbox One S Madden Bundle 18 package. So we get the whole system, the controllers, and Madden 2018. But I think the tournament probably should be played with 17. But once again, we're just in pre-registration right now. So we're working out these details. We'll probably cut this part up and talk about the Madden tournament in one little piece.
Yep.
We want to hear what people want, because if they want to play on whatever they want, then we just have to decide if you advance with playing 2016 all the way through and then you're thrown into a different system. I was playing Xbox the whole way through. Now I got to play PS4 and I got to play 18.
What's the genesis of this idea of staging a tournament like this? Is it just basically more or less to engage people in the game of football in another capacity?
Well, I mean, the genesis really, Steve got us talking about this about maybe 9 months ago. Steve's run a successful video game tournament. And what game did you play there, Steve?
We played Call of Duty Black Ops, and we formed a small company knowing that we're all into esports. I don't play, but I just find it interesting. And so we formed a 4-on-4 tournament. We had it at Earl Armstrong Arena upstairs in the seniors center with the concession booth and all, but we had 20 teams, 24 teams of 4.
Amazing.
And we were amazed at when you throw the call out there, response like immediately, and people are into that stuff, and it's great. It's another way to compete. It's another sport. It's another, esports is huge.
I think that's it. Like, at the end of the day, the House Edge Sports Network is, the whole genesis of this idea is that provide, professional sports broadcasting and veneer over youth sports. And I know we've been able to, we've done some things great, some things not so great, but we're not going anywhere. And we feel that, I feel that the next evolution is to give kids what they want. And I mean, a lot of the kids have this, and now you can stream and play each other by inviting friends, so you don't even have to be in the same location.
Right.
So we want to, let's bring esports to the HESN model, and let's see what we can do with it. Maybe have some fun. And at the end of the day, kids just want something to compete in.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially in the winter months,
Yeah.
when they when they otherwise don't have anything to do.
And-
So
yeah.
pre-registration is available now, guys?
Yes, yeah. Pre-registration is open. We have a splash page, so if you visit hesn.co/Madden, it'll take you to a splash page. Throw in your email. We'll be sending you get an automatic reply that says thanks for registering. You're going to be offered a spot once pre-registration closes. We're not sure the price yet, but we're probably looking at either you become a member of HESN, and there's a few other benefits to that, or you can just pay for the one tournament itself.
$10 a month.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at.
$10 a month.
Something like that. And actually,
That's to become a member of HESN.
Yeah, and actually we're looking at some models. I really been researching cooperative business models and stuff, and I'm really interested in this future of having stakes. So what I'd perfectly like to do, obviously we need the scaling available, but $10 a month, $2 would go to fund a portfolio of sports-related initiatives. $2 would go to cash prizes for these tournaments, and then the rest would go to power the network and have us broadcasting live games around the city, and also doing post-production recaps.
That's what we're interested in doing here, folks, is filling a void being created by, I suppose, the ultimate demise of community television in this country because of the fact that the CRTC pulled all funding for community television 2 years ago. And as a result, community television stations across the country are folding like houses of cards. So we want to be a part of what's going on in the nation's capital, and you can be a part of something pretty cool, too.
And you know what? You don't need funding from a big entity. What you need is everyone to give a damn, and a little goes a long way. We saw the advent of crowdfunding, and it's exploded, but it's still kind of a one-off type of thing. I think that having a membership, having a vote, and knowing that you have a vote to decide what we do with some extra surplus of money, whether it's outfit a new team with uniforms, that their uniforms have really become out of date, maybe we vote to do that. And having the network just really, really out there pumping youth sports and providing the coverage that these athletes and coaches deserve, that's what I think that we're headed towards.
Speaking of exploding, the man to my left is about to burst with the explosive and CAFA power rankings.
Yep.
Kyle Ball joins us once again. Kyle, thanks very much for being here. You compile these power rankings every week.
Yep.
So you know what is going on in each and every division.
Every division, every team.
What's impressed you the most about the teams and some of the rises and some of the declines from even a year ago?
You look at teams like the Myers Riders. They started their first season in the in the midget division this year, and they've impressed. They're up to number 2 in my power rankings this week. You start to see teams start off really hot and then fade out throughout later in the year, or teams that start off sort of a bit slower than others and then rise up right when the games start to matter towards the end of the season, and then they carry that momentum to a possible A-Cup.
And from Tyke all the way through to midget, it's just this time of year, every game has such resonance, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah, this time of year, every team usually has about 1 or 2 games left. Some teams have already completed their 8-game schedule due to some scheduling or a team folding perhaps. Every game matters at this point.
Okay, let's start with the Tyke division and see what exactly is happening. The Bell Warriors still at number 1.
Bell Warriors take over the number 1 spot this week. They surprised the West Carleton Wolverines. They end their undefeated streak at 6 games, and they take over the number 1 spot with a 24-19 win.
Wow, big game.
Yep. Yeah, big game for sure. And the East Ottawa Generals move up to number 2 with a 34-26 win over the Mustangs.
Okay.
And then Bel Air picks up their 3rd win of the season and move it up to number 4 with a 45-30 win over the Riders, who remain at number 6.
Myers at the OVFL level, at the junior varsity level, and at the varsity level, so very strong.
Yes.
In the NCAFA divisions, the program doesn't seem to be as successful. Why?
Well, it's very simple. NCAFA has stayed true with the territory model, which ultimately will grow the game, where you have to reside in the area that you live in. You have to play for the team. And I think a lot of people get on that and think that is holding teams back from building better programs. And when we see dwindling rosters and forfeits, that's what people point their finger to. But at the end of the day, if we're going to grow the sport, you've got to recruit in your area, and you got to get more kids playing, especially at this 6 versus 6 type level. We need more players out at that level, being introduced to football and falling in love with the game. What happens at the OVFL level over the last few years, and now with the Ontario Provincial Football League stepping in, is that all of the various territories come together, and the kids that want to play form the Myers Riders. But what they are NCAFA kids that have been developed by their coaches, by their executive, at all various different parts of the city. Mm-hmm. The one thing that I think that they really got wrong when they decided to put Myers in back in 2000, maybe 2000s, the first year that I played. I was just graduating Bantam from the Bell Warriors. And I went and tried out for this new summer all-star team, and they had the whole city to pick from to create this team. And one thing I think they didn't do properly was make sure that the NCAFA clubs were allies, and that they understood, like, listen, we're good because you guys are you're sending your players to us. And it kind of, Myers decided to go with a much more us versus the world kind of mentality, and it pittered out, and we saw what happened this year after 10 years or more of that type of attitude,
Okay, let's
all
go.
the football players just texted in, can we get back to the power rankings? Sorry.
Well,
I was just going there.
that wasn't too much of a
Patience is a virtue.
chat after some of the other ones we've had.
Patience is a virtue. Go,
All
Kyle.
right, so jumping over to Tyke 10v10, the Cumberland Panthers moved to 6-0 with a 54-19 win on Sunday. They were supposed to have a second game against the Gloucester South Raiders last Wednesday, but that game was postponed due to lightning and will be replayed tonight at Caladar Field at 7:15 p.m.
Okay.
So they hold on to the number 1 spot. Canada finishes their season at 6-2, and they're an interesting team. Their only 2 losses came to the Panthers. In week 3, they lost by 2 points, and in week 5, they lost by 26 points. So they look to be a good challenger for the Panthers, but they still might not be on that level yet.
It's tough, The playoffs bring out so many, X factors, and when the big lights are shining, and it might be that A Cup East versus West battle, he just cannot. It's very hard to guess, what's going to happen.
Anything can happen in one game, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, let's move along.
So we had the Cornwall Wildcats jump above the Gloucester South Raiders. This one's a bit controversial because Cornwall lost 48-0 to the Canada Knights, but they move ahead because the Raiders, they didn't complete their game on Wednesday against Cumberland.
Lightning?
Lightning delayed it. Cornwall, they have a 4-3 record. The GS Raiders, they only have a 2-3 record right now, and they have to play 3 games in 8 days against Cumberland, North Gloucester Giants, and the Vikings. So that'll be a tough end to their schedule, but if they can close it out, then they'll rightly reclaim their number 3 spot.
Okay. So we move up.
Yep.
Let's go to Mosquito.
Yep. Moving on to the Mosquito rankings. Cornwall remains undefeated with a 40-8 win over the Gloucester South Raiders, who fall down to the number 9 spot. We have the Cumberland Panthers. The fans will finally be happy with me. They move up to the number 3 spot.
No, they won't be happy with you.
Well, they want number 1, but...
Cumberland has certainly developed a tradition of winning, haven't they?
Yep.
They have. Yes.
But they do have a lot of kids to draw from.
Yeah, they do, but they also, I will say, they're run really well. They've got a great volunteer staff. They've got a lot of people that really care. They got the, as Coach Karate says, I love this, the gas factor. Give a, and they're doing well. They're doing well.
Yeah, for sure. Some parents were not happy with my rankings last week after they were down to number 4, I believe they were.
Well, even to the point where I believe a mosquito comes. Eric Ferrand, you know, I imagine for a kid like Justice that played all summer, now he's probably looking forward to some time.
He stands in the
watching his film, he just looked